Okay, so I work at Celestia. I'm a core dev. My name's Evan. And I'm here to talk about exploring MEV capture in modular systems and really start a discussion about a few ideas that they already exist. If we combine them, we can create a very powerful tool. And to be honest, I just don't think enough people are talking about it. And now, before I get any further, this has trade-offs. Everything has trade-offs. Only Siths deal in absolutes. So, just getting that out of the way. The alternative title to this talk was How to Make Validators Cucks. And on one sense, I'm just being playful. But on another sense, I'm being very real, weirdly real. So like the status quo of validators is capturing large amounts of value, right? This is how it works today. And this stems from the fact that they have a monopoly over that given block. Now, it is a small monopoly. It is only for one block. But sometimes, like in the context of a builder, it's very important. We can have a builder build a block. It has 3 heart emojis. That's a lot. Everyone loves that block, but that's not the block that gets committed. That's not the canonical block. That's because a different builder found a way to exploit more MEV or do something else and ended up bribing the proposer more. So now we pick that block. So the proposer's getting most of the money. Now, that's not the end of the world. It's not even the worst thing. Ideally, like the proposer can up the security budget. It's not even sure that like this is not ideal. Like all MEV has to get captured somewhere. Going to the proposer is not the worst place. However, it would be really nice if it was more programmable. If we had a way for L1s and L2s or rollups to be more programmable. So we also have to consider that with rollups, this has to be scalable. Not just in the sense that there's like 1,000 different instances of this setup, but also in the sense that rollup devs only have so much brain capacity. They can't be playing like this 5D chess when they're thinking about these things. So shout out to Skip, if anyone from the Skip team is here, for pushing the narrative of sovereign MEV. Now, all I'm trying to say here with sovereign MEV over solving MEV is that there's many different solutions to capturing MEV. There's not just one, there's many. We're picking winners and losers here, all right? So that decision is between like a community and their god. That is not like a decision that you can make for everyone all at once. That's at least what I believe. So in order to solve this, to make sovereign MEV, you have to move it on-chain. Because when something's on-chain, it's programmatic. And when something's programmatic, it inherently, in the context of a blockchain, is verifiable. So if we want it to be sovereign, all we have to do is choose to change our binaries. By simply switching our binaries, right, we now have changed how MEV gets captured, assuming that we can get it in protocol. So in order to do this, you have to break the proposer monopoly. This must happen. So this is a meme that I stole from Elijah. Elijah works at Duality. He's done some amazing work in this area of ending the proposer monopoly. And if you recall the first slide right, if we don't end the proposer monopoly, then there's always going to be some sort of censorship that they can do in the context of MEV to game the system. So we can write whatever clever rules we want on-chain, but it doesn't really matter. Because the validator can always, or the proposer, can always accept a block that gets built to game the system. So also shout out to special mechanisms groups. A lot of this work is just like repurposing their work. Highly recommend. So we kind of have to think about different things differently. Instead of building a block and then coming to consensus over it, we have to come to consensus over an unbuilt block, and then we build it. Right? We build it using a deterministic function. So there's 2 things necessary here. We need to have a way to have for proposers, multiple proposers, include their input for what they want to be in the next block in the next block. Elijah refers to this as multiplicity. So there's many different ways to do this. One of the simplest ways, or one of the ways that I keep coming to, is just some different flavor of narwhal and or tusk. And that is great because it makes the entire block censorship resistant. There's other ways to do this. So Skip does top-of-block auctions. They already have this implemented. If you want to go try some of these ideas out, you can literally go do this by building a Cosmos chain right now, thanks to Skip. And you have self-assembling blocks. So this is the second part. The second part is that you need a deterministic function to build a block. And you can't just, it's very important that the order of the inputs doesn't matter, right? It's addition. You can add two numbers in any order and you'll get the same result. That's the important part here. Once we have these things, we are now free to define MEV capture. So this is again in the context of L1s at the moment, where for the simplest case, all we need to define is a less than or equal function of what a bundle is. Now, what's the only thing better than one fire emoji? 3 fire emojis, correct. So if we have this, we can do something that's similar to a fork choice rule, but now we have a bundle fork choice rule. So you imagine we have a less than function, that's all you need for it to sort. Now we can sort these transactions or these bundles. And if there are any conflicts, then we go back to that rule. Well, which one has more fire emojis? Okay, well, we're going to pick that one. And you can replace fire emojis really with anything, but this has a cost. This has trade-offs. This is not for every state machine. This is not for every blockchain. In the context of Celestia, there's one thing you can do. You can pay for data to be included in the block. That's it. It's payments. This means that there's basically no conflicts. Conflicts are incredibly rare. So that dramatically, that makes it so that it's like a very viable thing to do in Celestia. Now, if you consider other chains, like most chains today are like these permissionless Turing-complete smart contract platforms that whenever you see a transaction, you can't even know what state is accessed until you execute the transaction. That's not really like a viable thing. You can't just have like a deterministic function. Not only that, is that if you have a lot of like MEV to be exploited, then it turns out that you have something that I'm referring to as death by gas auction. You just get completely overwhelmed, unless you have some sort of private mempool. That's not like a hypothetical, that's like a well-tested thing that happens all the time. So this is like, it's very dependent on the chain. Fortunately for Celestia, you can do this. So now the proposer monopoly has been broken. We can define how we want MEV to be captured on the L1. Rollups should also be able to easily define how they capture MEV. And they can do this too, right? The proposer monopoly is broken. We can submit multiple different rollup blocks as if they were a builder, like in PBS, to the same Celestia block, and now it gets included, right? And now we can define, similar how we defined a bundle fork choice rule, now we can define a just fork choice rule, a normal fork choice rule, except for it's completely arbitrary. We're used to fork choice rules with like hash power and stuff, right? This is just completely arbitrary. What does heart means? It could mean, judging by Twitter's sentiment, people love to burn tokens. I hope we get more creative than that, but that is like a perfectly functional thing. Whoever burns the most rollup token, not the L1 token, the rollup token, whoever burns that, that's the canonical block, right? Fork choice rules rule, because you can just have anyone build. You can make it so that I can have, like, literally anyone can submit a block. Rollups do not have the same issues that L1s have, where you have a limited set of block producers. Rollups can have however many they want. It just has to be defined in your fork choice rule. So you can, like, again, like, this can be very arbitrary. Rock beats scissors. But the coolest thing about this is that if we ever decide that we want scissors to beat rock, all we have to do is change our binaries, right? We can just do that. And in the context of modular blockchains, in the context of these, we have these trust minimized light clients, right? These light clients are the ones that are verifying the chain, the node operators, right? So they decide, light clients decide, how this actually operates, how MEV gets captured. Oh, and as a side note, you can decentralize how your rollup gets sequenced just by simply having a fork choice rule and relying entirely on the consensus of the base layer. No big deal. Shout out to Rollkit. They're working on this. If you really want to get your minds blown, talk to a Rollkit dev. Lastly, again, not everyone can do this, This is extremely limited. It almost requires privacy tech. You can ditch sequencers entirely. You can just have a bundle fork choice rule, and the blocks just build themselves. So there are trade-offs. This will not work for everything, okay? So it has increased demand for block space. Currently, that's DOA. It won't work. But can we imagine a world where block space is abundant? Thank you, Nick. So if block space is abundant, this is actually more feasible than we think. And increased full node requirements. There's no way of getting around that. This has increased full node requirements. However, it's very application specific. It's very dependent upon your fork choice rule. It's very dependent on so many different things. So we can build around this if this is a property that we want really bad. And I mean, this isn't really saying anything new, but like, in order to have good MEV, we need more privacy tools. And same thing goes for here. So when MEV is defined in protocol, and when light clients can verify the protocol, right? That means that light clients can determine how profits are captured in a system. That's pretty crazy, right? That's pretty damn crazy, right? Power changes hands. It is no longer just the validators, the politicians, the technocrats, and yes, even the token holders who are deciding these things. It is light clients. They are cucking all of these people, okay? So that is how I would like to end my talk. If you're interested in anything else,